Hello everyone! In this week's video, I'm going to be trying to animate. Let's see how this goes. I often get comments that tell me I should turn my webcomic, My Next Door Neighbors, into an anime. That would be really cool, but it already takes a really long time for me to just draw the pages for My Next Door Neighbors, let alone animate it. It seems like a lot of times that people assume that if you can draw, that means you can also animate. But they are two totally different things. I am able to draw illustrations, but I know pretty much nothing about animation. I have practiced it a little over the years, and sometimes I watch animation tutorials in my free time, but I've never made anything amazing. It's all pretty simple. Animation is actually something I've always wanted to play around with more, but it's very time consuming. So I thought I'd do it in a video. I get to practice something new and make a YouTube video at the same time. To you animation experts out there, please remember I am a total newbie. So you might find this video a little frustrating. If you have any helpful tips, I'd be happy to hear them in the comments. Also, I apologize if I say something wrong or don't use the right terminology. So today I'm animating in Clip Studio Paint. I have Clip Studio Paint EX, so I can make animations as long as I want. In Clip Studio Paint Pro, you can only use up to 24 frames of animation. I've been using Clip Studio for years, but I've never actually animated in it. So before working on this video, I watched a ton of tutorials so I could kind of figure out what I'm doing. So you might be wondering, what am I going to animate? A dynamic action pose? A character's hair blowing in the wind? No. I decided I'm going to animate my character Brayson sighing. So let's get started. So I'm starting by getting a super rough idea as to what I want Brayson's movements to be like. I want him to start in a neutral position and then move his shoulders up when he breathes in, and then slump his shoulders down when he breathes out. I add new frames by clicking this button. I also have onion skins turned on, so I'm able to see the other drawings as I'm working. Next, I make a new animation folder. I'm going to use this one for my super rough sketches. I want to get a better idea of how many frames I need to draw and where I'll be placing the details and such. I decided to draw Brayson in my simple sort of chibi style. It's not totally chibi, but it's just slightly more simplistic. I often use this style for less serious scenes in My Next Door Neighbors. I wasn't feeling super confident in my animating abilities, so I thought animating Brayson in a simpler style would help make things not so complicated. So Brayson starts with his usual blank stare, and then he blinks and looks a little confused. I add that a little later on, and then he goes into the sighing motion. The reason why I decided to animate Brayson sighing is because I wanted to animate something that combined both body movement and facial expressions. I actually sighed while trying to think of something to animate, so that's kind of where I got the idea from. Brayson seemed like the best character to make sigh. It kind of best fits his personality. Also, I decided to animate at 12 frames per second. It seems many people recommend beginners to start with a lower frame rate because it's not as overwhelming. So instead of 24 frames per second, I am using 12. I do like using the 12 frames. It did feel nice and manageable, but because I am using 12 frames, I wasn't able to make the blink as fast as I wanted. It feels a little slow, but it's okay. So now I have my rough idea in place. I have an idea of where I'm putting things and how many frames I need. Next, I'm going to start cleaning things up, refining the details, and try to make things more consistent. I'm actually only going to clean up my keyframes. According to the internet, a keyframe is a drawing that defines the starting and ending points of any smooth transition. So my keyframes are Brayson blinking, moving up when he breathes in, and the last one is when he breathes out. During this cleanup process, I'm trying to make things more consistent between the frames. Things like the position of Brayson's hair strands, how wide his shoulders are, how long his neck is, things like that. I don't want those things changing between all of the frames. Animation is pretty repetitive. I'm basically just redrawing Brayson a ton of times, so I'm kind of worried this video won't be super interesting, but I hope you like it. I decided to only clean up my keyframes because I decided I would do all the in-betweens during the line art process. Once again, according to the internet, in-betweening or tweening is a key process in all types of animation. It is the process of generating intermediate frames between two images called keyframes, to give the appearance that the first image evolves smoothly into the second image. So here's what my animation looks like with just the keyframes. It's very choppy right now, but it will get smoother once I add the in-between frames. Now let's move on to the line art process. When I was watching tutorials online, people recommended using vector layers for line art, saying that they make the process a lot easier. In Clip Studio, when you draw on a vector layer, it makes the line that you draw its own shape that you are able to change. I am very happy I used vector layers for the line art. It did make the process a lot smoother. Like, instead of needing to manually erase the eyebrows when I want to change them, I can just click on the line with the object selector and then delete those lines. Or if I want to change the position of something, I can just select them and move them around super easily. It's almost like I have multiple layers of line art, but I'm only using one line art layer, so it's really nice. So if you plan to try animating in Clip Studio, I definitely recommend learning a bit about vector layers. They are magical and make the overall process a lot easier. I've always really appreciated animation, but after working on this short animation, I really appreciate it. Like, this animation is pretty simple, but still took a lot of work, and some people are able to animate such beautiful scenes and can really capture emotion and be really expressive, and it's just so amazing. So to all of you animators out there, good job. It's a lot of work. So after finishing the line art for the keyframes, I started working on the in-betweens. I turn on the onion skin so I can see what the frames before and the frames after are doing. Then I basically just draw what goes in between the two frames. With this process, I'm basically just dragging things around and modifying the line art. The vector layers were extremely nice when it came to the hair. I was able to easily adjust the hair to fit the frames instead of needing to redraw the hair over and over again. However, for the shoulders, I found it easier to just redraw them instead of modifying them because the shoulders would get a ton of different points that I needed to select, and it was kind of confusing. Plus, they aren't super detailed, so it was faster for me to just redraw them in the different frames. Speaking of the shoulders and the body, I was trying to be really expressive with them. When he breathes in, I really tried to emphasize that they move up and that he's taking in air. I also make the lines of his torso bend out. And then when he sighs, I made the shoulders move really down, and I make the lines of his torso bend more in. I also make his head kind of droop down a bit. It was kind of fun trying to exaggerate this motion. Oh, I also decided to add this little puff of air that comes out when he sighs. I had a lot of fun adding it, especially when it poofs away. Okay, we are almost done. Now it's just time for the coloring. I make a new animation folder underneath my line art to add the coloring. I then go frame by frame and fill in the different parts of the line art. So I fill Brayson's sweater for all the frames and then fill in the skin for all the frames and so on. This is actually my first time making a fully hand-drawn and colored animation. Most animations I did in the past were only a couple of frames and weren't very smooth, so I don't even know if they really counted as animation. I actually had a lot of fun working on this video. It was a really fun change of pace, and I enjoyed getting to experiment with something new. Overall, this animation took me a little over 3 hours. I actually finished faster than I thought I would, so I'm pleased with that amount of time. If you'd like to see me do more videos on me practicing animation, please let me know. If enough of you want to see me do this again, I will gladly do so. So here's my finished animation of Brayson sighing. It's really cool seeing Brayson moving. It's something I'm not used to. I kept showing the animation to all my siblings, being like, he's alive! And they thought it was kind of cool. Oh, also, I want to let you all know I am posting My Next Door Neighbors on Webtoon again. It's finally back on there. Recently, I've only been posting My Next Door Neighbors here on YouTube, but many of you have been requesting I post it on Webtoon again. I actually changed the format of how I upload it, so now it feels more like an actual Webtoon. I just posted the first 3 chapters on there. If you have wanted to start reading my webcomic, now is a good time to start reading it if you prefer reading on Webtoon. Anyways, that's all for this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you all next week in my next video. Bye!